Good morning, everyone. It's Ellie again. So this is going to be part 2 for my elementary age students on the healthy connections or healthy relationships video. Last week we focused on talking about healthy, what healthy looks like, what healthy feels like. And so today we're going to do a little bit on the unhealthy, and then at the end I'm going to do a little activity with you, okay? So let's talk about some unhealthy things, because there are a lot of unhealthy behaviors that happen in our connections with people, especially with our friends, sometimes our siblings, or definitely with our siblings, where there's some unhealthy behaviors. And so we're going to kind of look at what those are, because some of them have become normalized or things that people are okay with, and they're not things that we should be okay with. So the first thing that I want to talk about is trust. That was something that we said we need in order to have healthy connections with people. But what about when there isn't any trust? How does that make us feel? And what are some things that may cause that lack of trust? Like, could it look like maybe if you have a sibling just going into your room and taking things from you? Now, if you have a much younger sibling who's like a toddler, well, they're still learning, right? But if you have a sibling who's older or around the same age as you, like a little bit younger, that can definitely take away the trust whenever you've asked them not to go in your room and they just go into your room. Or what about at school with your friends? Sometimes, our friends may take things from us without asking, and say that they're just borrowing it, right? But again, without asking us, that can make us lose trust in that friend. Or what about if we tell our friends, I have had some of my 5th graders bring up, like if they've told their friend that they have a crush on somebody, and then your friend goes and tells everybody about it. Or what if you tell your friend, that maybe you didn't make such a good grade on something, or maybe you feel a little bit insecure about something, and they make fun of you for it, or they go and tell everybody else about it. You're probably going to lose some trust, right? You're not really going to want to talk to them about what you're feeling, what you're going through. If they've taken your things without asking, then you're probably not going to want them around your things. You're not going to trust them with your things anymore. Or if they borrow something and you ask them to take care of it and they lose it or they break it, you might lose some trust there, right? So trust, again, is really important for us. And I want you to think about your relationships with people. Do you trust the people that you keep closest to you? And also, can they trust you? If someone talks to you about something, do you listen to them? Or do you go, like if your friend is talking to you about how maybe they felt embarrassed about something, do you go and tell everyone else about it? And kind of, how people talk about gossiping or spreading rumors. Is that something that you do? Because again, like I said in my last video, it needs to be a partnership where both people are practicing healthy behaviors. So we need to look at ourselves too. Are you someone who is trustworthy in your relationships or in your connections with people? Okay. Now let's talk about another unhealthy characteristic. What about someone who makes you feel bad about yourself? So let's say you want to try a new sport, or you want to try a new activity, or maybe you're trying to move up in reading levels. Someone who tells you, oh, you wouldn't be very good at that, or I don't think that you should try that. Or if you do something and maybe you're not successful at it the first time and they make fun of you for it, they make you feel bad. That's not a healthy behavior, and that's not something that should be happening in our relationships either, especially with our siblings. A lot of the time we put each other down, and we make each other feel like we're not capable of doing things. And again, our siblings are supposed to be people that we love, and when we love someone, we don't want to make them feel bad about themselves. So start thinking about, with your friends, with your family members, do they make you feel good about who you are, or do they make you feel bad about who you are? Are they supportive? Do they encourage you if you're not successful at something the first time or the second time or even the third time? Do they make fun of you for it, or do they keep encouraging you to try harder, or to keep practicing, and tell you that you're going to get better at it? Okay. Let's think about another one. Something that happens a lot: name calling. So name calling. that happens all the time. I hear it whenever I'm walking through the hallways. I know my brother and I did that whenever we were growing up. It happens a lot with siblings, it happens a lot with friends, it happens a lot with other classmates that maybe we're not friends with. We even see adults doing it, calling each other names, and it's not something, again, it's not something that should be happening in our relationships. That is an unhealthy behavior, calling someone names, especially if it's a name that they don't want to be called. So name calling is something that should not be happening in our relationships. I'm gonna do at the end an activity with you all, and so we're gonna kind of see how that happens in our friendships a lot, and ways that we allow it to happen, and we shouldn't. Okay, so name calling, again, that's an unhealthy behavior. It is not something that should be happening in any of our relationships. We shouldn't be doing it in our friends or family members or teachers or anyone like that. No one should be doing that. Okay, it's a very unhealthy behavior. Let's talk about peer pressure. Peer pressure happens a lot. So peer pressure means your friends are pressuring you to do something that you don't want to do, especially something that you know is not a good choice, something that maybe is dangerous, something that can hurt you or that can hurt other people. And peer pressure looks like sometimes they'll tell you, oh, come on, like if you want to be cool or if you want to be a part of this group, then you'll do it. Or they'll say things like, everyone else is doing it, why don't you want to do it? Or they'll start calling you names. Or they'll say, if you don't do this, then we're going to tell everyone that you were too scared to do it. That's not something that should be happening in our relationships. Part of what we talked about last time with the healthy is we should feel safe and we should feel comfortable in our relationships or with our connections with people. And so if someone is pressuring us, whether it's friends, family members, teachers, whoever it may be, if they're pressuring us to do something that makes us feel unsafe or uncomfortable, that is very unhealthy, and we should talk to somebody about it. It's not something that you should feel pressured into doing. You should most definitely talk to a trusted adult and let them know what's going on. And then with those friends, that's where you can kind of start to see, setting up those boundaries and deciding, hey, maybe this isn't a good group for me to be hanging out with or spending as much time with, right? So peer pressure is a big thing. It happens a lot. Sometimes we fall into it because we do want to fit in, right? We want to belong to a certain group. But the whole thing about belonging to a certain group is you want to belong to a group, or you want to be a part of a group of people where you're able to be you. You don't have to feel bad about being who you are, or you don't have to feel like you have to change yourself, or you don't feel like you have to do things that are uncomfortable or unsafe in order to fit in. That's not a healthy group for you to be a part of. Making sure that you're not in a position like that with the current people that you keep around you, but also making sure that you are not one of those people who are pressuring your friends or other people to do things that they're not comfortable with. We talked about boundaries and setting boundaries. It is absolutely okay for you to set boundaries, and it's important for the people around you to respect those boundaries, but it's also really important whenever other people set those boundaries with you that you respect those boundaries. Okay, so let's think about another one. What about, we talked about communication. So there's healthy communication and then there's unhealthy communication. Unhealthy communication might look like, so in the classroom, if our teacher asks us to do something and we just ignore them, or if we talk back to our teacher, or what if your friend is talking to you about something that's important to them, and you just don't listen? Is that healthy or unhealthy? It's unhealthy, right? Or what about those friendships where they come to you and they talk to you about everything and you're always there to listen to them, but whenever you go to them and try to talk to them about things, they could care less, or they just start talking about themselves? Is that healthy or unhealthy? That's unhealthy, because again, remember, it needs to be a partnership where both people are practicing healthy communication, okay? Both people are able to listen. So you take turns talking, you take turns listening. That's really important, all right? Also, there's something called like the silent treatment. So the silent treatment is whenever we are upset with someone, but we don't tell them why we're upset with them, and maybe we'll give them, mean looks, or with our body language, we'll let them know we're upset with them. So like we'll cross our arms, and maybe we'll do this with our eyebrows, and we'll let them know that they've done something wrong, but we won't tell them what it is. So we make them feel really, really bad, but we won't tell them what they've done that's hurt us. That's unhealthy. We talked about in our other lesson that with our friends and our family members and our teachers and the people that we have closest to us, we should be able to let them know if they've done something that has hurt us, or made us feel uncomfortable or made us feel unsafe. And so being able to talk to them about it, and not using the silent treatment, which means holding on to something for days and not talking to them and letting them know, hey, you've done something wrong, but I'm not going to let you know what it is. I'm just going to make you feel really bad about it for a while. That's not healthy, and it doesn't help the situation at all. So making sure that if there is something that someone has done, that you can talk to them about it, okay? And that they'll listen to you. Now, you may not want to talk about things right then and there, and that's okay. If you're feeling really, really angry, like I know I've been in situations where I'm really, really angry with someone, and I probably shouldn't talk about it right then and there. They may want to, but it probably wouldn't be healthy for me to, because I may say things that I don't mean. Sometimes whenever we're angry, we'll talk about in another lesson with like those bigger emotions, some of those more negative emotions, how we make unhealthy decisions, especially like with our words. And so sometimes when we're angry, we say things we don't mean. We just talk without thinking. And so I've been in situations where I've been really, really angry with someone, and I know, okay, I'm upset. I do need to talk to them about it, but I shouldn't talk to them about it right now, because I will say something that I don't mean, right? And again, once we say something, once we do something, we cannot take it back. So what we should do, instead of using the silent treatment and just not letting them know what's going on at all, what we should do is tell them, say, hey, yes, I'm upset, but I don't want to talk about it right now. I need some time to think about it. And give them a time frame too. Say, can we talk about it tomorrow? Or can I have like an hour? Or, I just need a couple of days to really think about it, okay? The other thing that I want to talk about with that, especially with my older kids, like 4th and 5th grade, something that comes up a lot is if you and your friend have already talked about something and you've decided that you're going to move past it and you're going to let it go, make sure that you do move past it and you do let it go. Don't hold it over their head or bring it up every single time you're upset with them, and make sure that they're not doing that to you either, because we all make mistakes, but it isn't fair to keep bringing it up and to keep reminding someone of the mistakes that they've made, okay? Especially if they're not continuing to make that same mistake, because we all make mistakes. So again, making sure that our friends aren't doing that and that we're not doing that, that we're communicating in a healthy way. So yes, it is okay to take some time to think about things before talking about it, especially if you're angry, but communicate that and say, is it okay if I have a little bit of space? My daughter does that with me all the time. Whenever I've said something that's upset her, like maybe she wants something and I told her no, she can't have it right then and there, she'll get upset about it, and she needs some time. And so she'll say, I'll ask her, hey, do you want to talk about it? And she'll say, not right now. And so I'll ask her, can we talk about it later then? And she says yes. And then I give her her space. I let her think about it. And then later we come back to it and we talk about it. Okay. So that is a healthy way to talk about things. So just make sure that there's healthy communication going on in your friendships, in your connections with family members and teachers, all of that. Okay. Then the last thing that I am going to talk about is feeling safe and feeling comfortable. We kind of talked about it already in this video, but I'm going to bring it up just one more time. You should feel safe and you should feel comfortable in your relationships or in your connections, okay? If there is ever a time, I cannot express this enough, if there's ever a time where you feel unsafe or you feel uncomfortable, even if the other person hasn't actually done something to you, you need to talk to a trusted adult about it, okay? Even if it's an adult that has made you feel unsafe or uncomfortable. Again, even if they haven't done anything, you just feel unsafe or uncomfortable, you go and talk to a trusted adult about it, all right? But if they have done something that's made you feel unsafe or uncomfortable, you most definitely go and talk to a trusted adult about it, okay? Don't allow something like that to continue to happen because you don't deserve that. So again, we're talking about all of this because you deserve to have those healthy relationships, those relationships that make you feel good about yourself, that help you to make healthy decisions. And also, you deserve to be that person for other people, right? And the people around you, they deserve to have healthy people in their lives, and you want to be one of those people. So looking at healthy behaviors versus unhealthy behaviors, who do you have control over? You have control over yourself, okay? So for this activity, if you're with your parents, you can do this. If your parents aren't with you, you can still do this, or if you just want to watch, whatever makes you feel most comfortable. But those of you who have already done my lessons with me, you already know what we're going to do, so this will be a refresher for you. But this activity, it's real quick. We're going to go through a couple of scenarios, ones that happen often, and we're going to talk about if it's healthy or unhealthy. So for this, we're going to use our thumbs, so I need you to get your thumbs out, okay? So thumbs up means healthy behavior, thumbs down means you think it's unhealthy, and sideways means you're not really sure, okay? So I'm going to talk about the scenario real quick. I'll let you decide, and then I'll tell you what it is. Sound good? All right, so do we all have our thumbs out? Okay, cool. So first one is, let's say that you're at school or you're playing with your friends, and one of your friends starts calling you names, or one of your friends pushes you, and instead of like, let's say they push you, instead of helping you up, they just laugh. Or if they call you a name, they just laugh about it. What would you say that is? Would you say that's healthy, unhealthy? You're not really sure. I'll give you a second. Okay, ready? All right, that is unhealthy. We should have thumbs down for that, okay? Again, what did we talk about? We talked about name calling. It's an unhealthy behavior. It's not something that should be happening in our friendships. And people pushing you or hitting you or anything like that, unhealthy, not something that should be happening. And again, laughing at you instead of helping you up and making you feel bad about yourself or trying to embarrass you in front of other people, again, unhealthy, not something that should be happening in our relationships, okay? Now we're gonna walk through the same scenario, except it's gonna go a little bit differently this time. So again, thumbs up, healthy, thumbs down, unhealthy, sideways, not really sure, okay? This one usually tricks people, so make sure that you're listening. So again, let's go with name calling this time, just name calling. Let's say that your friend calls you a name. All right, so your friend calls you a name, and they're laughing about it, and then everyone else around you is laughing about it, but let's say that you're laughing too. All right, so this time your friend calls you a name, they're laughing about it, everyone else is laughing about it, but you're laughing about it too. What do you think? I'll give you a couple of seconds to decide. Okay, you ready? So usually I get people or students who will switch from thumbs down to sideways or thumbs up. They say, well, I'm not really sure because you're laughing about it. Or, yeah, it's okay because you're laughing about it. And that's what friends do. They joke about stuff, right? Well, this one is still thumbs down. If we break it down and we look at the behavior itself, okay, name calling, is it healthy or is it unhealthy? It's unhealthy, right? Now, let's kind of look at this because I have had students say, well, what if that's just a thing between you and your friends? You call each other names and that's just how it is. Well, I want you to think about why though. Why is that a thing that y'all do? Why is that a thing that is acceptable or that you practice in your friendships? Because again, it's an unhealthy behavior, right? If we care about someone, we don't want to call them names or put them down. And so what I want you to stop and think about is we never really know what another person is feeling. How many of you have ever been in a situation like this where someone has said something or done something that's hurt your feelings and they're laughing about it, but in the moment you laugh about it too. You act like it's not really hurting your feelings whenever really it is. I know I've done that before. That used to happen to me a lot growing up with my friends, where they would say something or they would do something and it would really hurt my feelings. But in the moment, I would act like it was okay because I felt like, well, if I cry or if I tell them how it made me feel, then maybe it'll get worse, and I don't want it to get worse, right? And so then they thought it was okay, and then it was something that continued to happen. So that's the whole thing, is it's an unhealthy behavior. We don't always know how it makes another person feel. Even if they say they're okay with it, it still isn't something that we should be practicing. It's an unhealthy behavior. And why? Again, why do we want to practice unhealthy behaviors, especially with people that we care about? Okay, so that one is unhealthy. If it's something that's happening in your friendships, I want you to stop and think about why and how you can make changes to those behaviors. Okay, all right, so our last scenario that we're going to go through, this one is tricky. I need you to make sure that you are listening, all right? Because it's tricky, but it's also really, really important. So let's say for this one, your friend, all right, let's say it's like a close friend, comes to you and tells you that there's something going on at home, or there's just something that's going on even at school, but there's something going on, okay? And they don't feel safe, but they don't want you to tell anybody about it, okay? So they've trusted you, they've come to you, they've told you, hey, there's something going on. I really don't feel safe, but please don't tell anyone about it. I just want you to know about it. Please don't go and tell anyone about it. But let's say that you do go and tell someone about it, like you tell a teacher or a counselor, or you tell your parents. Would you say that's healthy, unhealthy, or you're not really sure? I'll give you a couple seconds to think about it, okay? Okay, so this one's tricky. I get a lot of students who say, unhealthy, your friend told you not to go and tell anybody, and you went and told people anyway, right? And if you do that, well, then your friend might not trust you anymore. Then I get people who say it's healthy because your friend felt unsafe and you need to make sure that somebody knows so that they can get help. And then I also get a lot of sideways, like I'm not really sure, it could go both ways, right? So this is actually healthy. It was a healthy behavior, a healthy decision for you to go and talk to an adult about it, especially a trusted adult about this, all right? Even though your friend told you not to tell anybody, if someone, so we've talked about secrets, and again, in another session, we'll go over good secrets versus bad secrets, okay? But with this, there are some secrets that we don't keep. So make sure that you're listening to this part, okay? Because it is important. Parents, make sure that you know this too. If someone tells you that they feel unsafe, uncomfortable, that someone is hurting them, that they want to hurt other people, or that they want to hurt themselves, you always tell a trusted adult. Always. You do not keep that to yourself, okay? Now, if in this situation I had said that you went and you told your friends, then that would be unhealthy, most definitely, because would that really be helping your friend out? No, it wouldn't. But if your friend is talking about they feel unsafe, or if someone is hurting them, or they're hurting themselves, or they want to hurt other people, well, if we keep that to ourselves, are we really helping our friend? No, we're not, right? We need to tell a trusted adult so that that trusted adult can get help for our friend. Because what if our friend isn't telling us the whole truth? What if it's worse than what they're telling us, right? Or what if it does get worse? How can we help them if we keep it a secret? So we need to make sure that we tell a trusted adult. Now, there are ways that we can go about this, and I love to have the school counselors in the classroom whenever I'm teaching this, and I know that your school counselors will agree with me whenever I say this, and you can do this with any trusted adult, and adults, those of you that are listening to this, I suggest this as well, that you talk to your children about this. But I've told students, and counselors tell students, if a friend tells you something like this and you go to your counselor or a trusted adult and you tell them, like if I had a student come to me and say, hey, you know, my friend told me this, I'm really worried about them, but I don't want them to know that I told you. Well, guess what? I won't tell them that you told me. I will go to your friend and I will check in on them, just have a casual conversation and just make sure that everything's okay, and check in on them and say like, hey, you know, I kind of heard that something was going on and I wanted to make sure that you're okay. Do you want to talk about anything? But we will not tell them who told us, because we want to make sure that you're okay too, right? Now, is it possible that your friend could find out? Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is. And is it possible that your friend would be upset or lose some trust? Yes, it is. But ultimately, what are we trying to do? Are we trying to help our friend or hurt our friend? We're trying to help them, and that's the most important thing, okay? So in that situation, you do not keep it to yourself. Now, earlier I brought up rumors and gossip and stuff like that too. So if that's going on, even if it's not someone coming to you directly and saying like, hey, this is happening to me, if a friend comes to you or you're in a group of people and they're talking about, oh, I heard so-and-so, you know, is in this situation and someone's hurting them or they want to hurt other people, you don't keep spreading that to other friends. You take that and you go to a trusted adult. Okay, we don't want that to become a rumor where it can make things worse for that student or that person. And also we want to make sure that that person gets help, whether it's something that's true or not, because by spreading that rumor and going and talking to other kids about it, we are not helping that person at all, especially if it's not true, right? Or even if it is true, we're just not making the situation any better. So again, that one is healthy. That is a secret that you should not keep, okay? That is the end of this lesson today. So our next one is going to be on body safety. If any of you have any questions, parents, if you have questions, students, if you have questions, feel free to leave a comment. You can call us, you can email us, you can go to our website, our Facebook page, whatever you need to do, and you can let me know if you have any questions, or again, if there's anything specific that you want me to go deeper into with these topics. If there are certain scenarios that you want me to talk about on here, or if there's a certain topic that you want me to talk about, I can do that as well, okay? All right, so I will see you guys next time, and I hope you guys stay safe and stay healthy, and I'll see y'all soon. All right, bye.